Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving headfirst into the exciting world of ethical hacking. You know me, I love taking things apart, seeing how they work, maybe bending the rules a little, but it's all in good fun, right? Well, ethical hacking is kind of like that, but with a purpose. We're talking about learning how to think like a bad guy, how to find those sneaky little vulnerabilities that real hackers might exploit. But here's the kicker, instead of using that knowledge for evil, we're using it for good. We're going to learn how to find these weaknesses and fix them, make systems more secure, and protect data from falling into the wrong hands. Think of it like being a digital superhero defending the innocent from cyber attacks. All right, let's kick things off with the foundation of any good security posture: network hacking. Imagine your network as a castle with walls, gates, and guards. Network hacking is all about finding those weak points in your defenses, those little cracks in the wall that someone could sneak through. We're going to be digging deep into firewalls, those trusty gatekeepers that control what comes in and out of your network. We'll learn how to spot misconfigurations, those settings that might accidentally leave the door open for unwanted guests. And trust me, you'd be surprised how often these things happen. Next up, routers. These guys are like the traffic directors of your network, making sure data gets where it needs to go. But just like a roundabout during a rush hour, things can get messy. We'll explore vulnerabilities in router firmware, those underlying software instructions that keep things running, and of course, we can't forget about switches, the network devices that connect all the different parts of your system. We'll learn how to identify and mitigate vulnerabilities that could allow an attacker to eavesdrop on your network traffic. Now, I know what you're thinking. Linus, this sounds complicated, and yeah, it can be. But that's why we're here. We'll break down complex concepts into bite-sized pieces, and I'll be with you every step of the way, explaining things in plain English. We'll be using a combination of theory and hands-on practice, because let's be honest, the best way to learn is by doing. We'll set up our own virtual networks, poke and prod at them, and see how different attack vectors work. Don't worry, we'll be doing all of this in a safe and controlled environment. No need to worry about accidentally taking down the internet. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a solid understanding of how networks work, the common vulnerabilities that exist, and most importantly, how to fix them. You'll be well on your way to becoming the network security guru your company needs. So buckle up, grab your favorite energy drink, and let's dive into the world of network hacking. All right, now that we've tackled the network layer, let's move up the stack and talk about web application hacking. This is where things get really interesting. Think about all the websites you use every day: online banking, social media, shopping, even this very platform you're watching this video on. Each of these websites relies on web applications, those complex pieces of software that power the interactive elements we interact with. And let me tell you, web applications are a hacker's playground. Why? Because they're often riddled with vulnerabilities, just waiting to be exploited. We'll start by exploring SQL injection, a sneaky technique that exploits vulnerabilities in a website's database queries. Imagine being able to bypass login forms, access sensitive data, or even take control of an entire database. Scary stuff. Next, we'll dive into cross-site scripting, or XSS for short. This nasty little trick allows attackers to inject malicious code into websites, potentially stealing your cookies, redirecting you to malicious websites, or even taking control of your browser. And let's not forget about cross-site request forgery, or CSRF. This attack tricks you into performing actions on a website without your knowledge, like making unintended purchases or changing your account settings. Sounds like a lot to worry about, right? Well, that's why ethical hacking is so important. By understanding how these attacks work, we can learn how to prevent them. We'll be getting our hands dirty with tools like Burp Suite and OWASP Zap, industry standard web applications security scanners. We'll learn how to use these tools to identify vulnerabilities in real-world web applications and, more importantly, how to fix them. And hey, if you're feeling adventurous, we might even try our hand at building our own secure web applications. Because what better way to learn about security than to try and break your own creations? So whether you're a developer looking to build more secure applications or a security enthusiast wanting to understand the latest hacking techniques, this chapter has something for you. All right, let's face it, we live in a mobile-first world. Smartphones are everywhere, and so are mobile applications. We use them for everything: banking, shopping, dating, even controlling our smart homes. But what happens when those apps aren't secure? That's where mobile application hacking comes in. In this chapter, we'll be diving into the wild world of Android and iOS app security, exploring the unique challenges and vulnerabilities that come with mobile platforms. First things first, we need to understand how mobile apps store data. We'll be poking around in app databases, looking for vulnerabilities that could allow attackers to steal sensitive information like passwords, credit card numbers, or even your precise location. Next up, transport layer security. We all know how important it is to encrypt data in transit, especially when it comes to sensitive information. But what happens when mobile apps cut corners with encryption? We'll be using tools like SSLies and Wireshark to analyze network traffic, looking for weaknesses in an app's communication channels. And of course, we can't forget about binary protections. Mobile apps are compiled into binary code, making them a bit harder to reverse engineer than traditional web applications. But don't worry, we'll learn how to decompile and debug mobile apps, looking for vulnerabilities in the underlying code. We'll be using tools like Frida and JDX to analyze mobile app binaries, looking for vulnerabilities that could allow attackers to bypass security controls, inject malicious code, or even take complete control of your device. This is where things get really technical, but don't worry, I'll be here to guide you through every step of the way, explaining complex concepts in a way that even your grandma could understand. So, whether you're a seasoned security professional or just starting out, this chapter will give you the skills and knowledge you need to tackle the ever-evolving world of mobile application security. All right, time to switch gears a little bit. We've talked about hacking networks, web applications, and mobile apps, but what about the weakest link in any security system? That's right, humans. Social engineering is all about manipulating people into giving up sensitive information or performing actions that compromise security, and it's scarily effective. Think about it, it's much easier to trick someone into clicking a malicious link or giving up their password than it is to find a vulnerability in a well-protected system. We'll be exploring different social engineering techniques, from phishing emails and pretexting phone calls to baiting tactics and even good old-fashioned impersonation. Remember that time someone called you pretending to be from your bank? Yeah, that was social engineering in action. We'll learn how to create convincing phishing campaigns, craft believable pretexts, and use psychological principles to influence people's behavior. But don't worry, we'll also be talking about how to protect yourself from these attacks. Knowledge is power. And by understanding how social engineering works, you'll be less likely to fall victim to it. We'll even be conducting some social engineering experiments, ethically of course, to see how susceptible people are to these techniques. Don't worry, no personal information will be harmed in the making of this chapter. This is going to be a fun one. So get ready to put on your thinking caps, because this is where psychology meets cybersecurity. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, from networks and web applications to mobile apps and even the human element. But what about physical security? You can have the most secure network in the world, but if someone can just walk into your server room and walk out with your data on a hard drive, it doesn't really matter, does it? Physical security hacking is all about testing the physical security measures that protect your valuable assets. We're talking locks, badges, alarms, cameras, the whole shebang. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be learning how to pick locks or bypass security systems like a bunch of criminals, but we will be exploring the weaknesses and vulnerabilities that exist in common physical security measures. We'll be looking at things like lockpicking, badge cloning, and even social engineering techniques that can be used to gain unauthorized access to secure areas. Remember, knowledge is power. And by understanding how these attacks work, we'll also be discussing the importance of physical security policies and procedures, such as visitor management, access control, and surveillance. And hey, we might even try our hand at some basic lockpicking, just for fun. So if you're responsible for the physical security of your organization, or just want to learn how to better protect your own belongings, this chapter is for you. And there you have it. We've covered a ton of ground, from the depths of network protocols to the psychology of social engineering. You've learned how to think like a hacker, identify vulnerabilities, and, most importantly, how to fix them. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Ethical hacking is about using your skills for good, to make the digital world a safer place. So go out there, put your newfound knowledge to the test, and become the ethical hacking superhero the world needs. And hey, if you enjoyed this course, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future cybersecurity adventures.